On this holiest night of the Jewish calendar, we begin not with storing poetry, but with a legal formula. Kol Nidre, the Asarei, the Charamei, the Konamei. All vows, all oaths, all promises. We ask God to release us from the words we cannot keep, from promises made in anger or fear, from commitments we cannot fulfill. It's a strange way to start Yom Kippur, when the sanctuary is full, when our hearts are open, when we long for inspiration. We begin with annulment. The lawyers among us, which I'm guessing there are a few, might find comfort in the legality of the evening. But others might ask, why start with a legalistic formula for annulment instead of something lofty, spiritual, or inspiring? The answer is this. Kol Nidre is not about erasing our past. It's about being in relationship. God knows that human beings fail. We say things we shouldn't. We do things wrong. We fall short of our ideals. We disappoint each other. If our covenant depended on perfection, it would have ended a long time ago. But Kol Nidre proclaims, God does not give up on us. God may release us from the vows made under duress, but God never releases us from relationship. That's the essence of Yom Kippur. We stand before the Holy One, confessing our flaws, asking for forgiveness, and God stays. God does not turn away. And tonight, I want to suggest that the same truth applies to our relationship with Israel. Even when Israel disappoints us, even when we are heartbroken, we cannot release ourselves from that relationship. For the third year in a row, I find myself standing here on the High Holy Days, speaking about Israel. Never did I think the war in Gaza would still be raging. Never did I imagine that hostages would still be held in captivity, deprived of food, water, and oxygen, clinging to life. Never did I think IDF soldiers would still be fighting, or Israelis still running to shelters. Never did I imagine that Gazans would be struggling for food, water, and basic safety. News over the past 2 days has given us some glimmer of hope. I can only pray that the Gaza peace deal, seemingly the most serious effort yet to end the war, comes to fruition, and that Hamas's leaders agree to the U.S. proposed deal. I hope, more than anything, that the hostages come home within the next few days. Until then, almost 2 years later, after October 7th, the war rages and my heart continues to break. For the hostages in captivity, for the families yearning for their loved ones, for those grieving losses from massacres on the 7th, for Palestinians starving and displaced, caught in the middle, for the policies of the Israeli government that are tearing apart the Jewish community, including some of our families. With so much heartbreak, how can I still love Israel? Because I remember my first trip in religious school, boarding a pretend El Al flight, eating falafel, watching Shalom Sesame, and writing notes for a cardboard box kotel. I remember standing on the deck of an Exodus reenactment boat in high school, seeing the coastline of Haifa come into view, disembarking, kissing the ground, and dancing the hora. I remember volunteering during my first year of rabbinical school with an Ethiopian family at an absorption center outside of Jerusalem, helping them create an Israel as their new home. I remember this synagogue's trip celebrating B'nai Mitzvah at the egalitarian section of the Western Wall, and the connections that families made not just with the land of Israel, but also new connections within the temple. I remember traveling with Federation and our synagogue to mark Israel's 75th birthday, celebrating. But Israel has broken my heart, as I know it has for many of you too. I've read the rhetoric of today's far-right politicians, words that demean, divide, and threaten the democratic ideals we hold dear. And like so many of you, I've wrestled with the ongoing war in Gaza, its terrible human toll, the impossible dilemmas, the uncertainty about what peace can look like. As brutal as the attacks of October 7th were, and as clear-eyed as I am about the cruelness of Hamas, the horror of that day does not absolve us from the ethical standards and moral responsibility. Starvation, malnutrition, and medical blockades are not tools of war. I know criticism of Israel is imbalanced. I know photographs have been manipulated and the casualties distorted. But there are hungry, malnourished, suffering innocent kids and adults in Gaza, and I cannot look away. Israeli author Yossi Klein Halevi puts it this way: to be an ambivalent Jew today is not to be uncertain so much as torn between conflicting certainties. We know Israel must defend itself against Iran and Hamas. We know young Israeli soldiers have showed extraordinary courage. We know Israel faces lies and distortions. And yet, we also know that something has gone very wrong. We see the moral erosion of a government led by extremists. We see settler violence tolerated. We see the terrible human cost of this war. So here is the paradox. Israel inspires me and disappoints me. I am proud and I'm pained. But just as God never releases us from our relationship, I cannot release myself from Israel. I don't live in Israel. I'm not a military strategist. I'm not a negotiator, except perhaps with my four-year-old. But I am a Jew. And I know that our covenant with Israel is not about perfection, but persistence. So how do we stay in relationship with Israel even when some of us seems it's hard to do? First, we need to be able to hold multiple truths. Rabbi Daniel Hartman of the Shalom Hartman Institute urges what we call moral double vision, holding together two commitments at once. On one hand, Israel has a moral responsibility to protect its citizens and dismantle Hamas. On the other hand, Judaism demands we never lose sight of civilian humanity, even under Hamas's rule. This is not theory. It's excruciating. It means admitting that sometimes Israel may succeed militarily, but fail morally. It means refusing to dehumanize Palestinians, even while holding Hamas fully accountable. It means we measure justice not only by victory, but by the moral choices along the way. Rachel Goldberg-Polin, whose son Hirsch was kidnapped and later murdered, captured this double vision. Enough of the hostage family is trying to convince us the world that stealing our children is not an option. Enough of innocent people suffering from lack of resources, water, food, clothing, medical care. Enough of leaders who use their people as props. It's time for this excruciation to end. Give us back our 50 hostages. Some are alive and some are only alive in our souls. But the innocent people who are in Gaza have a chance. The innocent people in Gaza, the ones who have lived there for a long time, and the innocent people in Gaza who are dragged there from Israel on October 7th, have had it. We, the people who love them, are broken. And so, you handful of men who have the ability to make this end right now. Goldberg-Polin's words force us to stay human, even in humane times. This is not weakness. This is moral courage. Second, we must connect with Israelis. It's easy to talk about Israel from afar. Suddenly, everyone on social media is a Middle East expert. But that's far from reality. We must hear from Israelis themselves. A recent poll found that nearly 70% of Israelis, over half who supports the ruling coalition, favor ending the war if it means bringing the hostages home. Israelis are not monolith. Some are soldiers, some are parents, some are protesters, some are store owners just trying to get by. Some are all of the above. We cannot know Israel only through headlines. We must meet Israelis face to face, hear their fears and dreams, their exhaustion and their hopes. That's what we've been doing at Temple Emanu-El, bringing different voices to share their experiences. From hostage families to IDF soldiers, to former politicians, to business owners, we have a commitment to hearing different views. And if there's someone you are interested in hearing from at the temple, please let us know. We're always looking for new voices to learn from. And Israel has always been at the heart of this synagogue. And for the past 2 years, I'm proud that our front lawn, at our Shabbat services, and through our programming, bringing the hostages home has always been front and